Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of our podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about what has nature taught us. And if you know anything about us, you'll know we have an allotment, and we're quite often down there. And wow, nature's a pretty remarkable thing. I have to say that. How are you, Desi? Welcome to this show. I think you were here before me, but anyway, welcome.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Chris. Yeah, we have had this allotment for now 2 years and we're learning all the time.
And like one of the things that's come up countless times is like just we've been stunned, and I mean stunned by revelations that have entered our psyche through what nature's been doing. And you might think that's a bit an absurd thing. Like, what can nature really? You're bullshitting us, really. Because like, nature's nature. They go out, it's a bit fresh and everything, and it's like, what can it do? What can it really teach you? But hey, we'll share some things this morning. So, Bruce Lipton is a very big dude on the stage, the world stage. He's into all sorts of things, but it's all about nature and how we run our lives. So Desi knows a lot about this guy, but he's got something to say about nature, hasn't he?
Well, he's one of my favorite teachers there because I have never found anything contradictory in his words, and he's taught me a lot. So here's what he says about nature. What if you could hire the best life coach ever? One with millions of years of success at creating beautiful, abundant, sustainable life. Well, you can. It's called nature.
Well, there you go. And we often talk about this, but this morning I was doing a bit of meditation, and some things came up for me, which I thought, oh, actually, I'll mention these, and we maybe can do a bit of a conversation on it. And it started by just thinking about myself and how I'm engaging with all those things around me, and my attention wandered off to the allotment, and I was thinking about rats, squirrels, foxes. And you might think to yourself, well, that's probably a poor allotment then if you've got all that stuff going on. but but no. Let's stick with me here. Uh, let's talk about squirrels, right? And let's just talk about squirrels right now. Or rats, doesn't matter, either one. They're kind of squirrels are a bit loners, but rats are quite interesting because they kind of come in a community, and they're quite they reproduce quickly. But rats, let's just take the psyche of a rat for a second. Not that I'm a massive, I don't talk
A
to
rat
rats.
whisperer.
I'm not a rat whisperer. I don't talk to rats. But let's just imagine for a second how a rat goes about his business. It's got sensors like senses, right? Like us. So it goes about its business. It smells scents. It can touch things. It can see things, and it probably knows when it's hungry, and it knows when it's had enough to eat. And it's got this community around it that nurtures it in some way. They don't. There's the difference between a rat and a human is that it's probably not going right. What shall I do today? What's what's oh, there's that rat again over there. I can't stand him.
I'm gonna put some poison.
Yesterday he nicked some of my seeds. I'm gonna nick some of my food. I'm not gonna talk to him. It's probably not doing that. What's it doing? It's being triggered by its senses, and it's going about its daily routine and whatever or today's activities. Because with a rat, they don't have this agenda and this plan for the next month, and then some kind of right. How did we do last month? Right? It doesn't do that. What it does is it says, okay, oh, I'm awake. Oh, I'm hungry. Right, I'm off to get some food. Probably it starts making its way out of their den or whatever, and off. And some others think to themselves, "Oh yeah, I can eat something," and they follow suit and they go with them, and they might go in a little group or whatever, and then they come back and share the food or do whatever, and then yeah, they might go and say, well, "Okay, well we've run out of food there, so we better go and have a look and see what we can find for tomorrow." But basically, or they might just wait till they're hungry again and just go out scavenging again. It's like it's all in the now, and it's all in response to their senses, right? And the same with squirrels. They go hunting for nuts in May because there aren't any nuts in May, so they wait for that. And this is another thing that nature does. It delivers things in due course when it's time, right? So we're talking about the rat analogy, and humans are absolutely not like this. And when we say live in harmony with the things around us, the rat's just doing that, isn't it? Like we may say, oh, you know, the rats are back, right? But they're only back because the circumstances are right for the rats to be back. It's only responding to the environment that it's in. It's not going, oh, I know, Chris doesn't like rats. Let's go over there and annoy him. It's not happening. It's not doing that. It's not a vendetta against me and the allotment to like come and start invading our compost heap. That's not what the rat's about. So there's no point in getting angry with the rat, is there? And some people might think, yeah, you're going to be angry with them because they shouldn't be there. Well, change the environment then, so they don't want to be there. It's very simple. It's not. It's not like they're not doing anything wrong. They're not living in the human world of what we believe is right or wrong. They're just following their nose, quite literally following their nose. And we get all excited about it because we don't want it to be like they want it to be. Well, it's not they want it to be. They're just doing stuff that they've been born to do, and they're just carrying out their lives. And what we've divorced ourselves from this is because we've got some kind of picture of how things should be in our minds, and we're going out trying to enforce it. And actually, I think we've got to work in line with nature, to be honest, because that's going to be here long after we've gone, isn't it?
Exactly. We seem to have lost this ability to be a part of nature. Like the rats and the squirrels and everything else, they follow along as nature changes, because obviously in this part of the world we have winter, we have summer, we have time of abundant food, and then times of like more of a famine kind of period. And they're all kind of work with that. If it's cold, then they maybe hibernate, these animals. If it's abundant food, they will be storing it, collecting it for the periods when there isn't any food. What have we done? We have developed farming, which is, we pride ourselves in this achievement of, oh look, we can produce three butternuts. 3-4 times a year we can produce butternuts, one after the other, in like a month. We have sped up the production of lettuces. They grow indoors under the UV light, and it's hydroponic, so they're just flow from one end of the warehouse to the other end of the warehouse, and in 2 days we have a lettuce. And we pride ourselves into tricking nature that we are cleverer, and we have figured out how to do this quicker. And one thing that nature does is it does it in time. Whenever the time is, it will happen. We don't need to force it. It will happen. Like we put a lettuce, and whatever long it takes, it will develop and it will be ready to eat.
The thing is,
And in doing this, when we think we're cleverer, we're really robbing ourselves, because then we lose the nutritious character of that, because somehow we can see the final result, a lettuce that's come within 2 days. It's grown into like a full-blown lettuce, but we don't see what's inside of this lettuce,
There's,
whether it's got anything good for us.
like, and these are things from another day, but essentially we've changed money as a mechanism for easily exchanging goods between us in a way that is effective, i.e., bartering isn't quite, like I've got some potatoes, you've got some, like some butternuts, but I don't want butternuts. What I want is some leeks. You don't have any leeks, so I can't really give you the the thing because but money helps simplify that. But the trouble is that you turn it into a god, and the
Yeah.
reason for life is to accumulate money, which on it in itself is just a representation of energy, and it's not really like it's not a god. But in chasing money, we basically divorce ourselves from nature, because if we have enough money, we can fly in the face of nature. We can basically say, "Oh no, I've got money. I don't need nature. Nature's just this bloody dirty, messy thing out there. I've got my nice, clean, pristine home with my nice, shiny car and my lovely clothes. What do I want to bother with nature for? That's for the plebs out there. That's for the, the non-people, almost like the people who are too stupid to make it with all this money, right?" And
But that
and
was my belief when I
yeah,
was growing up. I don't know why. That's what I thought.
no, but I had those thoughts, like that years ago. I had that. We all get these thoughts. It's not like this is some kind of thing. We all got them, but we don't admit we got them because it's too.
It,
It's
for me,
almost
it was like
shameful.
a villager is like the lowest of the lowest of life.
Yeah, well,
A
they're actually
farmer,
the
oh
highest
my
of the.
God, it's the worst of everything. And now I'm thinking, thanks God we have these people.
Yeah.
And
So
I'm really sorry that I was very derogatory about their what they do. And they're not stupid people like I used to think. I'm clever. I need to go to university because
when
I'm
when
clever. No.
when you start to when you start to really fall back in love with nature again, you can see how absolutely amazing it is and how it will always win the battle. It will always win the battle. And I was talking with you about, let's just say we've created this allotment that's, you
Mm.
know, it's not, I like it. I created the infrastructure, the stuff, and I like what we've done. And I think it provides us with an opportunity to grow food, right? If we left it for 3 years, that allotment would be like unbelievably overgrown, and like nature would have just walked in and just reclaimed it. Right now, it's producing while us humans create an artificial environment for it to produce. But and nature's good at making mistakes too, by the way. Nature will move in and it will become very, very strong in areas that we don't want it to be strong. Like we've manured things, we put nutrients in the soil, we've encouraged the worms, we're looking after the soil, right? This isn't what nature does, right? This isn't what it does, right? It looks after it enough. It doesn't go bananas about it. We're now trying to increase the yield for our benefit, or for us, because we're good at farming, so that it produces food for us to live on from a small microcosm of the environment, right? That's what we're doing. Now, what will happen is the weeds will come in, they'll say, oh, hell, this is amazing. Look at this. This is like I've struck
No,
gold, right?
no competition. This is the place for me.
Yeah, and they all grow like anything, right? But guess what? When the nutrients aren't supplied, let's say we stop with the allotment, the nutrients stop being applied, the ground stops being cultivated in quite the way it is, and suddenly all these weeds that effectively, if you remember the parable with Jesus where he said, there was a seed that fell on a rocky soil and it didn't really do anything, it just got burnt by the sun, and there was the one that fell in shallow soil and it started off really well, but there's no depth to it, no depth for the roots. So when the sun really did start to hit home, off it withered away and it ran out of juice basically. And then the one that was on the fertile soil, it really did well. Now, if you take weeds as an example, why is it that some of these these allotments that have been discontinued or not being cultivated anymore, how come they've just got couch grass, bindweed, brambles and stuff on them, right? How come they don't grow broccoli and cauliflower and cabbage and carrots and stuff, right? It's because that's not what that bit of soil is best at. It's best at growing couch grass, bindweed, right? Oh, well, that's no good because you can't eat that. No, but nature's not providing for the human race, believe it or not. It does, right? But you have to go out and work at it, right? So, and because we've artificially ballooned a planet of people, like to 7 or 8 billion people, using oil and our creativity, which is never what nature intended, right? We've created this artificial planet with all these people on it. You can't. Nature is unable to sustain this human virus. Right? It can't do it. It can if it's got humans like working hard to fix the problem and like fix nature so nature can do it. But really, are we working along with nature or are we abusing it? Right, and this is for a different day, but like I'm just saying that nature would happily move in and use our juicy allotment. But then when we stop feeding that allotment and stop creating that artificial society, those weeds will pass away. They will be snuffed out by the ones that would grow there, regardless of whether humans were there or not. Right, and that's society. That's nature making a mistake. It takes advantage of what we do, but then oh no, why is all these nutrients disappearing? Right? It's like, oh, come back, human. And couch grass returns, bindweed returns, brambles returns, right? Because that's what works there.
But when we say nature makes mistakes, I am not comfortable with this statement. Nature
Well, it
doesn't make
makes
mistakes.
well,
Its plants come and germinate and then flourish maybe and then die. I don't think it's a mistake.
well. What I'm saying is that you said earlier that the nature is a success story, is sustainable and everything, right? It's unsustainable, that environment we've created without our intervention. It's unsustainable. Now, if you said, well, humans are part of nature and therefore they've created an environment where those weeds can grow, okay, fair enough. They're not the enemy, are they? They're full of nutrients, but they're just not edible potentially. So bung them back on the compost heap, and we can dig them in next year. That's fine. That's like
Harmony.
a little harmony, but it only works. It only works and keeps producing that if humans are involved in the process, and we are part of nature. So you could say that's not a mistake. What I was really referring to is that nature's taken advantage of the human involvement, but humans basically are a little bit fickle. We're not there permanently. We don't do right, and it kind of comes and goes, and so do the weeds, basically based on our participation in creating that environment. So it's you could say that's all part of nature, and but I guess it is really in some form, shape or form. It is part of nature, but it's a very temporary part of nature. It's quite, in the real scheme of things. How long have brambles and weeds and bindweed been growing there, and couch grass, years upon years upon years,
Yes, like
centuries probably, right? Right, and we've created an environment for a few years. It's like it's very very temporary in the big scheme of nature, which continues to like trundle on regardless of what we're up to. And then we're not in control of nature. We might be able to manage it for a little bit. Look at those houses in Bulgaria when we were there. Overgrown. You couldn't even see the house because the nature was reclaiming it pretty in real terms,
quickly, yeah.
slowly.
20 years, not even that,
Yeah,
maybe
I
even
mean
less.
that's slow. That's slow in a human perception of time. right? That's very slow because we talk about, like, you know, like we were talking about butternuts earlier, right? Right, I put a seed in, right? Where's my butternut? Well, hang on, you got to wait. What? Wait? No, I want it now. I want my butternut now. Well, it's
That's
got
the thing. Patience, we have none. We
it's
have
got
educated patience out of ourselves.
exactly, which is why we've lost touch with nature, is because we want everything to happen immediately. And nature's going, well, hang on, I've got to germinate a seed going on here. Then I've got to create a plant. And you've got to move that plant into something. You can't keep it in a little pot. That's no use. You've got to put it in some decent soil. And then you've got to water it if you want, this is all artificial. But I rain occasionally. But maybe if you're putting in a greenhouse, you're going to need to do a bit of supplementary watering. And then come October, after you've planted the damn thing in
In May,
March,
March, oh yeah.
October, you've got a butternut. That's not instant, is it? That takes nature takes a while to produce the goods, but produce the goods it will. But when it's appropriate, because everything has its time and place. And yet we seem to think that the time and place is whenever we want it, and it ain't. It's just not like that. And it's so nature's taught us all this. And
Nature has taught us patience, and then we decided that that's not good. We need it to be quick. We need things to happen when we want, not when they naturally would happen. And this is this reminds me of marketing. Yeah, if you solve a problem for many people, you're going to become very rich. Now, go and find a problem that everybody has. So what everybody has, everybody needs food. Oh, let's go and make farming very quick. Let's solve a problem for people. And as a result, now we're sick because our food, mass produced, is lacking nutrients and it's full of fertilizers and whatnot, and it's not nurturing our body, and our body is becoming sick.
now you can grow food yourself, right? But what does it require for people to grow
Effort,
food? Yeah,
effort,
well, I know it requires effort,
and
but it
patience,
also
and
requires someone to fall.
knowledge.
But you could do that as a group, as a community. Like you learn things like a kid. Like just go back and be a kid again and learn from people who've had more experience. But you've got to fall back in love with nature. Because
Yeah.
if you don't, what happens is you go down there for 5 minutes, find out it is hard work, and give up. Expect to get apples, when you just plant an apple seed or you just put a tree in that you want apples. It's not going to happen because it takes a while. So it's like you have to fall back in love with nature, a bit like what we're talking about here. If you don't have that inquisitive nature, you won't succeed with growing food. And we all need it, and we all enjoy eating nice food, but like it requires this big, huge step, which is which is basically to recognize that nature is like unbelievable. Well, it's everything. It is everything, isn't it? You can't,
Mm.
like
We
you
can't get
can't.
ourselves out of it. We are part of it, even though we think that we are better. We are the crown of the creation, and the rules of the lower life, because we are the crown, we are at the top. The rules that apply for the lower life don't apply to us.
And yet, the only reason we exist is because all the other things exist. Because if they didn't exist, we're out of it. Like bees, for example. If there's no bees, the amount of food that can be produced in a year drastically declines.
Yeah.
Or or nature says, "Oh, okay, those bees, they were pretty good, really. They could create honey and they create stuff that people enjoy and everything else. I'll tell you what, we'll create some kind of bug that does the pollination, but kills humans."
A drone.
But and so suddenly they've got a bug which is does what the bees did, but isn't really very friendly to human beings. Doesn't produce honey. It just goes around causing problems. And people might say that's a wasp, but wasps, by the way, most people don't understand, but wasps actually pollinate too, and they're actually very useful in nature. They do all sorts of things. They eat insects and they do all sorts of things that we because they sting us and they hang around like beer and ice cream in the summer.
And
we think,
grapes.
and grapes. We think they're horrible things. That, well, you know, if you don't want wasps to be hanging off your grapes, pick them. Pick the blimming grapes and do something with them. Don't leave them there because they will attract wasps. You know, nature knows. You know, like it's not going to. You know, that's why it makes them like they're sensitive to what they wasps. People don't recognise this, but wasps in the spring and the early that they want some. They don't want sweet things because they're basically out there, basically collecting food and doing stuff to keep the queen going, right? So doing similar thing to bees. And you'll never find them around ice cream or, but okay, it's not that warm, but they're not there. They don't want that taste in spring and early summer. What happens is in the late summer, the queen kicks them all out and won't let them back in again. So they're homeless. And because the weather's getting a bit cooler, they now need energy. And what do they go for? Sweet things. So their tastes change. And so they act differently in the late summer to the way they acted in the spring and early summer. And then we think, oh, bloody wasps, you know, like, well, you know, it's just nature doing its thing. And yeah, feel sorry for the wasps because they're homeless. They got nowhere to go and they'll be dead in 2 days. So, but they are part of the ecosystem and they are actually providing a value. I used to think wasps were a nuisance put on Earth to annoy humans. But actually, they do some pretty good work, you know.
So again, from this sheet that I was reading earlier, Bruce Lipton's quote, I just have 11 principles of nature. I'm not going to go into detail, just going to read them. And maybe we can think about, when you're watching this, you can think about these ideas. So collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
The first principle of nature. Nothing happens in isolation. Everything works together in harmony, although there's harmony later on. So collaboration, adaptation, diversity. We should put these in banners. Harmony, cause and effect, resiliency,
Mm-hmm.
balance, interconnectedness, timing, effective use of resources, and more is not always better.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you look at that, right? Show me where nature's rubbish tips are.
Yeah, there are no. This all get consumed. There are creatures that will
Yeah, and
eat,
you take foxes, right?
collaborating to eat the dead stuff.
You take foxes, right? Now, um, foxes used to be just in nature. Well, they are in nature now, but they used to be away from human beings. They used to be quite scared of human beings, and now they've kind of adapted because human beings produce a plethora of waste. We're how many billions of tons of waste we produce each year is just criminal. But we do produce a load of waste, you know, food we haven't eaten and all this kind of stuff. And we chuck it in the bin, of course. And we're not very good at chucking it in the bin. We miss sometimes and often we don't secure it enough. So what happens? Well, along comes the fox who's, you know, a bit of a lazy creature, really. Like if you were said, you know, go and dig up that potato, or here is a bag of potatoes, right? Humans are just as bad. Oh, I'll have the bag of potatoes because it's easy, isn't it? Like I'm not going to go and dig one up because you know
They're muddy and everything.
that
Yeah,
takes effort. You know, that takes
need
effort.
to
So basically,
ready myself.
the foxes have adapted, and people say, "Oh, look, there's a fox!" Like you know, in the town, like we see them all the time in the towns these days. Oh, but there's a fox there. Cool, they're getting brave. No, they're just hungry and they're taking the easy route. And as long as they keep out of the sight of human beings, you know, they're okay. My before my mum passed away, you know, there was a some foxes under the shed at the bottom of the garden, right? Well, what on earth would a fox family be doing under the shed of a garden amongst, surrounded by houses, by the way, surrounded by houses? Well, first of all, I was surprised. My mum was sitting in the front room and I was looking out the kitchen window, and a fox is just walking up the garden path, right? Walking up the garden path and sat on one of our garden chairs enjoying the sun. I got this on video, right? And it's like the audacity of this creature, but it's like, someone's put some chairs out for me. It's quite comfortable. It's this nice path. I've got this nice, safe, secure place under the shed, which no one ever really goes to, and plenty of food. Like all these people chucking stuff out, which is really good fun, going nosing about, looking for this stuff, right? And no one's bothering me. Like, how's that going to be bad for a fox? It's like, and we surprise ourselves by saying, "Oh no, they're invading our space." No, we invaded their space, and because we built loads more houses where they probably used to be, and basically we chuck out a lot of stuff which is edible by them. It's nature
Nothing is
evolving.
invading us. We are creating the right environment for these things to flourish.
And like you said with Bruce Lipton, adaptability. There's adaptability right in your face, just there.
Sitting on a chair enjoying the sun.
You like to it. I wasn't sitting on the chair at the time, so
Chairs available? Why not?
So anyway, we've learned so many things from nature. Every single creature really is just doing its thing. It's not thinking about what it's doing. It's just doing its thing. It's responding. It is what it is. Like a rat is a rat. Like it's not a terrible thing. A rat is a rat, and it's doing its thing. It's been pre-programmed to do what it does, really, and it's not.
And the thing is, I remember my dad. Now you're saying, "Oh yeah, a rat is a rat." We used to have these animals there. Don't know whether they exist in this country, in the UK, but they dig tunnels under the ground, and they're not moles. They're something else. So they don't make these piles, little mole hills. They just stay nicely underground. They don't show their existence unless they eat your bulbs. So you have a nice row of tulips. 1 year, you've put them all and they've been growing there nicely. And one morning you go and you see that all tulips have gone like flop to the side, all dead. And you try to lift them up and investigate. Why all of the tulips like flop to the same side? Oh, and you pick it up. And the tulip comes out, and you can see where the stem has been cut. Somebody went and chewed through it. And where's the bulb? Oh, the bulb's not there because there's a tunnel underground. So there's this animal. So my dad and my granddad, both of them, they used to get absolutely livid when this happens, because he wouldn't just take all your tulips, but it was very happy to take any potato and any other kind of bulb that you dig in the ground. So there was the anger and the this "I'm gonna kill you" attitude, and they would create traps, and they'll stand there, wait for this, because if you expose the hole and this animal feels the air coming into the tunnel, it doesn't like it, so it comes back to fill that hole up. And when you stand there and you wait for it to do that, and then you go with the hoe and you kind of do everything you can to take it out of the ground and kill it, because it's taking your tulips and your daffodils, maybe, and anything that is in the shape of a bulb. Why the anger? Because all your hard work, you've been making your garden beautiful, and now the tulips are all gone. You've been waiting for the crops of potatoes to come out, and now most of them have been taken away and eaten. And it is a frustration, true. Like the rats ate some of our butternuts last year, and it was like, ah, I don't like this. But it's the meaning that we attach, and maybe because in my history, uh, people didn't have a lot of resources, so whatever they grew, they're expected to have a good yield. And when that half of it or most of it is taken by this animal, it's causing a lot of anxiety and anger, because now I've got to go buy it. All of this lost crop. I need to go buy potatoes, buy
Yeah, I mean,
tulips.
the
Obviously, we
thing
don't need the tulips, but you want to have some beautiful flowers in there.
the thing is that, like we found out really, is like you have to grow more than you need because nature's abundant. Like when you grow tomatoes, how many tomato seeds are in each tomato? Like it's like 100, maybe 100 seeds in each tomato, right? So you could grow 100 plants from one tomato. If you've got 47 or 50 plants producing tomatoes, how many
A lot.
tomatoes could you grow? It's like it's super abundant, right? So if you're worried about this creature going under, either grow the potatoes in some place somehow that this creature can't burrow in, or
I
you
don't know
grow
why
enough,
they didn't come up with these ideas.
yeah,
I don't know why.
or you plant enough potatoes that the thing can't eat them all. Right? It's like you just have to realize that these creatures deserve a living too. They're part of nature. They're there doing their thing. They don't know they're doing anything wrong. It's like, well, here's a potato. It's quite nice. I'll chew my way through that. Doesn't have any idea or concept that there's a farmer out there. It's just surviving. And I guess that's the lesson that we learned was like we're going to lose to slugs, to other things. We just try and protect them as long as we can, so the slugs don't kind of like. You got a bit old now. Slugs like new, fresh, little sweet leaves. So if you can just get them to survive long enough that they become less attractive, or you put some sacrificial sacrificial plants there specifically aimed at getting them all together, away from your main crop. Like just try and out deceive the whole thing. Like there's ways.
Doesn't work.
Well, I'm just saying that yeah,
There
everything.
must be other ways.
Well, we did the beer things with and that seemed to have some success because they got quite full up. But anyway, I think that's probably enough about nature.
Yeah,
But
we're getting a bit babbling away.
it's a we can't get away from it. We're part of it, and we'll either destroy the environment that helps us survive in this world, or we'll get more aligned to it. One of those two things is true, and we're struggling with it at the moment. So, and we're doing our little bit we can to help by, giving examples of what you can do. But it all comes from the fact that we love nature. We wouldn't have ever happened if we didn't love nature. So,
Yeah.
anyway.
Right.
Thank you very much. Right. So, by the way, if you like what we're talking about, you managed to survive this conversation to the end. I didn't say at the beginning. Do subscribe, do share it, and do tick the little
bell.
tick on the bell so that you get reminded when we do new ones, because we're doing them all the time. And yeah, you might.
Yeah. See you in the next one.
Yeah, we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you for watching. Bye.
Bye.